What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we did have the Game Awards Thursday night, and while of course it is an awards show, there were a lot of games shown and revealed there, and we're going to attempt to go through as many of them as possible here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Nintendo and their Switch Online service with the 64 expansion pack, as they did release Paper Mario and then announced another game, giving us maybe an idea as to how they are going to approach the scheduling for these games going into 2022. And we got a very requested update for Halo Infinite, specifically on the multiplayer side. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all of the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with Square Enix. They had announced that Final Fantasy VII Remake is heading to the PC, actually here pretty soon in a couple of days. And then, of course, they showed off Forspoken at the Game Awards. But after they had these trailers go live, they also had the pages on Steam and then on Epic Game Store go live, and people noticed something. The prices are a bit higher than they were expecting. That's right. As I had mentioned earlier this year, Square Enix is embracing the $70 price tag. You can see Forspoken over on Steam sitting at $70, and Final Fantasy VII Remake on Epic Game Store was also at $70, but it appears that the pricing got hidden or went away, possibly after the backlash ensued, of course, on Reddit, forums, social media, all of this towards Square and their price adjustment on PC. Recently, we've, of course, had games on PC still stay at $60 for things like Battlefield, but we do know that that transition to $70 with third parties will eventually spill over to all platforms, with the PC being one of them. And I believe first parties will also continue to move in that direction. Sony's already there. I expect Microsoft and Nintendo to make that push as well. I talked a bit more about this topic over on my second channel, so make sure you check that out for my extended thoughts. Also, I told you guys I would keep you up to date on any potential PlayStation 5 restocks, especially as we head towards the end of this month with the holidays. And it looks like there's a new report going around saying that we could see a big PS5 restock in GameStop stores in a couple of days. This posted up over on The Shortcut, even showing off some proof that they had received this report, and what looks like emails and stuff going around inside of GameStop showing a Friday, December 17th restock of roughly 60 PlayStation 5 disc consoles. And yeah, they'll be made up of bundles. That's kind of the way GameStop wants to do this, because then, of course, they'll be able to sell more, bring in more revenue, all of this. But if you consider what people are paying right now on eBay, which is like over $1,000 for just a PlayStation 5 console, then you look at a bundle that's like $800, but it comes with games and gift cards and all these other things. It's not too bad. Now, how would I go about this? Well, I would probably call your local GameStop in the next couple of days ahead of this Friday and just politely ask if they are expecting any PlayStation 5 shipments, wink, wink, hint, hint. And if they say they are, then I guess scope out the area and see if people are lining up that morning to get a chance at a PS5 bundle. It's good to hear that they'd be in store, though, because that at least gives us a chance. Fighting with the bots on like the website right now is a whole thing, and it's most likely not going to work out in your favor. Oh, and we had talked previously about the Analogue Pocket and how they were starting to ship out these units to people who were able to pre-order them, or at least got into the early pre-order shipments. They're kind of broken up right now, but we should be hearing more about this system, I think, here pretty soon. It does look like they are opening up more pre-orders, and they're looking to fulfill them throughout the next year. We can see this over on Twitter, where they say the Pocket will be available to purchase on December 14th at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And in order to accomplish this in the context of a global pandemic, they're requiring or implementing a fulfillment protocol, which you can see there's Group A, B, and C, and they're split up between Q1 2022, Q4 2022, and then Group C being 2023. They've also had to raise the price around the Analogue Pocket to $219 due to the overall inflation with component costs. And I mean, that's what we're seeing across the board anyway, so it makes sense that the Analogue Pocket would have that same thing pop up here. Like I said, we should start to see, I think, some coverage for these things pop up here pretty soon, so make sure you check that out and decide if the Analogue Pocket is something you want it to pick up, as they will be doing some pre-orders this week. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Nintendo and their Nintendo Switch Online service with that N64 and Sega Genesis expansion pack. Most people subscribe to it because of the Nintendo 64 games, and people are hoping that Nintendo may speed up their overall release schedule for these games, maybe more than one every couple of months. And potentially Nintendo could be moving towards one Nintendo 64 minimum per month. At least that's technically the schedule they're on right now. We can see this posted up. This is a tweet from Nintendo's account on Twitter, where they say Banjo's on a mission to rescue his sister from the envious wicked witch Gruntilda, foil her selfish plan to snatch the beauty from 2D in Banjo-Kazooie, available Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack members in January. So they tweeted this out the day that Paper Mario was released to the service, which, by the way, Paper Mario, from what I can tell, people seem all right with it, and it's great because the game itself, I think, has aged well, and there's a lot of people who missed out on it. Some look at it, of course, and say, oh, it's the spiritual successor to Super Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo. I think it's just because, oh, it was another turn-based Mario game, so they kind of put them next to each other. But it was a really cool original concept at the time, where you had Mario made out of paper, and they really played into it the entire game. So if you have not played it, I completely recommend doing so. The only thing that seems to come up when it comes to the emulation side of things that some noticed is that the menu screen, when that comes up, it seems people are saying as sluggish or slushy. There's a post on Reddit showing it off, and it appears like it just kind of slows down. That apparently is a problem that people were running into with emulation in general before this, and they had managed to fix it on the PC side of things, so maybe Nintendo works to fix that going forward. The thing here is I would hope, I'll say that Nintendo will work to improve the emulation through updates as we get more and more games. But now the idea, of course, is, all right, so they released Paper Mario, and they have now announced that Banjo-Kazooie will be heading to the service next month. Like, okay, so we have one this month, one next month. When Banjo-Kazooie shows up in January at some point, I assume mid-January to coincide with the December 10th release here, maybe like January 10th, 11th, 12th, something like that, right? Does that mean that they will then announce like F-Zero for February? And then will we get Majora's Mask maybe for March, and Pokemon Snap for April, and so on that way? Really, looking at their current lineup now of 64 games, I would say the sooner the better, so they can build up a good base of 64 games, at least get to the point where you have a solid 20 games, and that does not include Quest 64. The moment they announce Quest 64, might as well just be a lost month in general. So if we end up on this path of one 64 game a month, and then maybe we sprinkle in some Super Nintendo games, remember Nintendo, you were announcing those at one point for the base service, I think people will at least start to get a little less frustrated with the service from a content perspective. But it also comes back to the overall feature set, and they haven't really done anything for the basic tier at $20, which is what a majority of people are currently subscribed to. So I feel like Nintendo really needs to focus in on that aspect, just the overall features and the ecosystem, if you will, and the online environment when it comes to playing with your friends, and to build that out. And then, hey, 64 games getting thrown in there, that's a nice benefit along with the Nintendo and Super Nintendo games. But let me know if you guys think that Nintendo will continue the schedule where we get one 64 game every single month, at least over the first, I'm gonna say, year of this expansion pack existing. Next up, let's talk about the Game Awards. Now, there's a lot of varying opinions on the show overall, and to me, it comes down to, I guess, how much you like the announcements at these shows. Rarely do people argue back and forth about the quality of the show when it comes to the awards, the selections, and everything. At the end of the day, when they're giving out the trophies, it comes down to what was shown and if it was good enough to be on par with like an E3 event, right? But going through it, there were a lot of games shown. I'm gonna attempt to go through most of them, but as I was adding these up, I was getting close to 40 different announcements to go over here. So we're gonna go through these pretty quick, and I'll show you some of the trailers as we go along, but we're gonna rapid fire these to keep it at least as short as possible. Let's start here with Tunic. That is coming out March 16th. Make sure you check that one out. It's a really cool isometric looking Zelda style game. Definitely make sure you keep this one on your radar. We had a demo and I did enjoy it. We have Crossfire X, that's coming out February 8th. Lost Ark, that's an MMO from Amazon, coming out February 11th. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's a multiplayer game to, I guess, keep an eye on if you're a fan fan of some of these like horror games that we have now, like Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th. Homeworld 3 is coming out in 2022. Evil West, that's from the Shadow Warrior developers, and it looks like a Wild West shooter, so that'll be, again, something to keep on the radar there. Have a Nice Death, that game looked pretty interesting. I'll keep an eye on that one. Planet of Lana. Then we had Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, that's coming out March 10th on the PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Something people have been noticing is that Atlas is slowly starting to do more and more Persona just off of PlayStation, so I guess we'll see if they do make a jump with something like Persona 6 in the future. I feel like Persona 5 would have made the jump if it was going to, at least at this time, so I guess we'll see there. We had Nightingale, which, again, looked pretty unique. Space Marine 2, I saw a lot of people get really excited for this, and I didn't know that many people played the original Space Marine. I feel like that one just was really underrated and kind of lost to time, but good to see that series is going to continue on. We had Steel Rising, that's coming out June 2022. Metal Hellsinger, Rumbleverse, that's February 8th. Arc Raiders, Thirsty Suitors, Star Trek Resurgence, that's next spring. It's from Dramatic Labs. Apparently that's the studio that was formed from some of the ex-Telltale developers. And then on the heels of that, we had The Expanse. That's announced from the current Telltale studio. We had PUBG, that is going free to play, which I don't know, is PUBG still really popular? I know it had a massive sales run-up where everyone was buying it and talking about it, and it just kind of went quiet, so going free to play, I think, is a great strategy for them there. Cuphead, Delicious Last Course. This is the DLC that people have been asking for so long. It is dated June 30th. Good stuff there. Hellblade 2 had a trailer that was really impressive to see. Dune Spice Wars, it's an RTS. Keep an eye on that, of course, for Dune fans. Sonic Frontiers trailer looked like Sonic Breath of the Wild, but it's going to be interesting to see how this one turns out for Team Sonic and Sega. It looks like it's super ambitious, and they're aiming for holiday 2022. We'll see if it makes it there or if it gets pushed into 2023. Google had this kind of quiet announcement that Google Play was going to head to PC, and you'd be able to play different apps and games natively on your computer tower or laptop or anything. Showed a trailer. Apparently that's happening in 2022, so keep that one in mind. Among Us is going to have a VR version released. Quantic Dream is making Star Wars Eclipse. That's apparently going to lean more into the action side of things than what we're used to from Quantic Dream with something like Detroit Become Human. Final Fantasy Remake, as we said before, is coming to PC. Wonder Woman was announced from Monolith Productions, and this is going to be a game that will be using the Nemesis system. So that'll be one to follow there, because that is something that was patented by WB and Monolith, so no one else is really going to be using it. This will be the next implementation after what we had with Shadow of War. Suicide Squad had its trailer shown, and I guess gameplay. They were trying to show off what the game exactly is. I feel like we just need a live stream or a session where they just sit down and walk you through a mission in the game to really hammer home what's going on here. Elden Ring had a trailer and a almost out-of-place pot wheeling onto the stage with the note. We had Slitterhead from Bokeh Studios. That's from the creator of Silent Hill. Alan Wake 2, that's coming in 2023. And to cap things off, we had Matrix Awakens. This is an Unreal Engine 5 demo. It's out now on the Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, and PS5, completely free, and it's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen played on a console. So as I mentioned, the show itself is up for debate when it comes to the quality, the pacing, and overall production, but I'll at least give Jeff Keighley credit with this. There were a lot of announcements. It may not have been the highest quality for each one, but there was certainly quantity there and some big surprises. Like I said, Space Marine 2, there are probably a lot of people who did not play Space Marine, but for those who did, got really excited when they saw that game. And even something like Wonder Woman caught me off guard a bit to have Monolith Productions implement the Nemesis system in a game like that. But some stuff to look forward to is, I think, a tough year overall to get some big announcements. Apparently, Jeff Keighley in a Twitter space even mentioned that he went to several other publishers, studios, and even Nintendo, and they just said, no, we don't have anything for the show. Maybe next year there'll be a bit more as this generation continues to build up momentum and we see development schedules get more on track after dealing with the pandemic, all the work at home stuff. So, like I said, certainly when it comes to quantity, there was a lot there, and we'll just look forward to next year to see if we get back on track with some big time announcements. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a major update that is coming to Halo Infinite on the multiplayer side. There have been a lot of complaints around things like lack of content, but also the playlists that are currently available, because there's not many, and the ones that are there don't give you much in terms of control over what you'll be playing. Looks like that's going to be changing here this week. We can see this over on Reddit. It was posted up by Sketch343 employee there, keeping everyone up to date, saying, "I'm happy to report that a Slayer playlist is officially locked and loaded for the update next week. They'll have 4 new playlists. This is all going live Tuesday, December 14th. That'll be Slayer, Fiesta, Free For All, which is Lone Wolf from previous ones, and then Tactical Slayer, that is SWAT. So SWAT is basically no shields, and you all have like BRs, and it's one shot kill to the head there. So that's something that really we played a ton of back, even like Halo 2 days, but certainly in Halo 3, it became very popular and was even added in as like an official playlist you could pick at times for different weeks. Bungie really leaned into a lot of this when it came to community-created gameplay types, and ever since then it's evolved to now where we're all asking for things like SWAT. So exciting to see that. Like I said, Tuesday, December 14th. Tuesday typically is when your challenges will reset and all this, and they did talk about some adjustments when it comes to challenges, which includes removing some of the particularly frustrating mode-specific ones, reducing some requirements for others, and making the weekly Ultimate Challenge less intensive, which, yeah, at times it can be kind of frustrating. Like, I remember Fiesta get 5 killing sprees with the carnage that goes on in Fiesta. Was pretty frustrating at times to get to 4, and then some random rocket or something just hits you and you gotta start back over. Now, they did mention that the Slayer offering they will have available tomorrow on Tuesday. It's gonna be very basic. I assume we'll just have like an assault rifle, pistol, basic setup, and then from there they continue to branch off of Team Slayer and do things like we see with SWAT. So that'll be fun to follow there heading into next year. They just apparently saw a lot of the feedback and want to do something that they could implement ahead of all of them going on break for holiday, which is at this point I would say well-deserved based on a lot of the stuff they've had to do to get this game out the door. I do hope there's eventually a documentary made around the Halo Infinite development, similar to what we saw with Raising Kratos, because it sounds like there's quite the story to tell with this game from start to finish when it comes to the creation of it. But good news here, I'm excited that we will have more playlists to jump into for Halo Infinite starting tomorrow. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I said, give the Game Awards 2021 a letter grade. 3% said A, 17% said B, the majority said C at 46%, and then 17% split there between D and F. And yeah, I'm kind of in the camp of a C. Like I said, there was a lot of quantity. There wasn't anything that was massively hard-hitting. There was no Xbox Series X. There was no Sephiroth joining Smash, cutting the entire universe in half. Like, I don't think there's much here that we're going to really remember and look back on and be like, whoa, do you remember the Game Awards when like any of these games were shown off? Nothing there. And even like the Game of the Year winner, while I think it was cool that It Takes Two won, because that's such a departure from what we're used to with the big award that ends the year for games in general, I just don't know if people are going to look back on it and remember it as much as like Breath of the Wild winning or God of War or Last of Us Part 2. So overall, a solid show, but I'd say a very forgettable one. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Apollo saying, I still think it's stupid that the Game Awards are in December. It should be in January, after the year is over and all the games have come out. It is awkward to have to exempt big titles like Halo Infinite or Smash Ultimate in 2018 just because they released late in the year. The thing with the Game Awards, it's hard to schedule this out at all because there's a good chance you're going to miss some games somewhere. Like, what if they said, all right, you know what? You're right. The Game Awards will be the last week of January. Well, what if Pokemon Arceus comes out and it's really, really good, but it's out the same week as the Game Awards? Like, what do you do then? You're not going to have it, I'd say, in the first half of January because you're coming off of a holiday break. And obviously, advertising revenue or spend is down compared to December. And based on what I see with that stage alone, it costs a lot of money to put this whole thing together. So while I get what you're saying, you're trying to reschedule the Game Awards, essentially try to find a better time for it, I just think no matter where you put it, there's going to be conflicts somewhere. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. It really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we've talked about here today. Where's all the Game Awards announcements? Let me know what your favorite one was or your least favorite one or just the lineup overall of the games that were shown? And then also, what about the Halo Infinite update for the playlist? Are you jumping into Slayer immediately when it drops? And then Nintendo and their Switch Online Nintendo 64 selection. Do you think going into 2022 we can expect one of those 64 games every month? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.